So welcome to another episode of Truth Tuesdays. Today we're joined by Sep here, who's going to help us understand a concept that I think has been really kind of played out in the industry, but it's still pervasive, and I think it's worth discussing. So, Sep, what we're going to do is going to have you ask me some questions about the topic, about stretching, and I'm going to try to answer them as best as possible. I want to be clear as we go on. Everything I'm saying to you can be substantiated and backed up by significant evidence. However, the field is constantly changing. Understanding of this knowledge is constantly changing. And so there's no conclusivity, only what we know of at this moment. So I think I'm pretty up to date with the knowledge that I'm going to present today. I'm sure some of you might disagree. In fact, I hope many of you disagree, so we can start a conversation on the topic. But yet, I want to be clear. If you're going to disagree with me, have your evidence, have your science, have your backing, because I do. I won't delve into opinions, okay? So let's start the discussion and see where it goes. What's up?
Okay, so I worked out 2 days ago and I'm sore. And I want to stretch because it makes me feel better after it. And it relieves my soreness. Is that what I'm supposed to do? Or does that make sense?
Well, I think first you have to define what you mean by stretching. Like, what is stretching? What does it mean to you?
Stretching my muscles.
So you're talking like a passive stretching activity, or a more active modality? Like
Passive.
Okay, so you're, pause for a second.
Resume.
So passive stretching is the idea of moving to a position or a range that you can't achieve intrinsically, so you can't get there on your own. There's an outside force acting on you, whereas active is a position you can achieve surely motivated by internal musculature and muscle action. So is that what you're talking about, passive stretching?
No, I changed my mind.
Oh, you changed your mind?
Active stretching.
Active, so moving around, actively going in that position.
Yeah.
Okay, so I refer to that as what I call an active preparatory motion, or active preparatory exercise, if you will. And the idea is you would do something like this prior to activity, to prepare you for said activity. A lot of people call this dynamic stretching, which is fine. That's just another term. I just find that it's a little bit deceiving to bring stretching into the equation. So I call it an active preparatory motion. And the idea is that you're actively achieving your full range, like the range that you're capable of, without an external force, actually, at least minimizing of external forces. Gravity is always going to be a factor, okay? We don't live in a gravity-free environment. So in that regard, that's good for preparation, and it might be nice and helpful after, for some people. It might be pleasant, but it's interesting, you said it feels good, and I think that's the principal reason people will do, because it feels good. As for reducing delayed onset muscle soreness, increasing performance, those kinds of things, passive stretching doesn't really do any of those things. There's no mechanism really by which it can. In fact, we don't even know what causes delayed onset. We don't conclusively understand what delayed onset muscle soreness is, so we can't really say that stretching helps it. But if it makes you feel good, that's great. That said, there's a lot of things that feel good that aren't necessarily good for you.
Okay, so that said too, so when people say stretch or else you pull muscle, that's...
Well, honestly, that's a little idiotic. That's actually a really stupid statement. Because think about it. The fear is pulling a muscle. So to avoid pulling a muscle, I'm going to pull on my muscle.
Yeah.
Right? It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's an idiotic statement.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think people really misunderstand. We've done this passive stretching thing for so long and so dogmatically because,
It's just been passed down.
For the last however many years, every high school gym teacher will tell you the same thing,
yeah.
and it's just not. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's inappropriate. Okay. So that's why. So like I said, if you're going to do it because it feels nice, sure. But if you're going to passively stretch, like for example, like a lot of yoga classes, those kinds of things, I would do those after activity to reduce the down-regulate your nervous system or down-regulate your contractile ability. So before sleep, for example, would be a good idea.
Okay, why is that?
Because you're reducing the force output of a muscle. Like this is no question. Like you have to understand, there's no doubt here. When you just passively stretch a muscle, you're reducing its ability to contract for a period of time afterwards, up to 40%. Okay, I've done the EMG studies myself. It's pretty clear. So I definitely don't want. That's not the kind of thing you want to do before a strenuous workout in the gym.
So what would you recommend to people to do before a workout? Just warm up?
Yeah, but the warm-up, probably, like I said earlier about the active respiratory motions, if you're achieving your limits and range actively, doing that for a little bit, or even just the activity that you're going to be doing. So for example, if you're going to be doing bench press, for example, then what you might do is actually go through a few unloaded sets or repetitions and sets of that activity to prepare your body for it.
So little weights, basically.
Or nothing, and then building up to it, right? And it just go to the lowest common denominator and then work your way up from there, right? That's probably the safest bet, right? So again, I understand this is a somewhat controversial statement, but if you look at the evidence and you look at the data surrounding stretching, it's really hard to draw any conclusions as rehabilitative or, think about it. Oh, my muscle is sore, so I'm going to stretch it. Well, your muscle's sore because it's attenuated an excessive amount of force. And so your solution is to stretch it and put more force on it. It doesn't make any sense, right? So when you kind of break it down that way, it becomes a little, it makes the questioning of this dogmatic practice a little more realistic. And I think that's all I want to do. Some people are going to do it, and that's fine. I can tell you this, that there's no incidence of it reducing injury. There's like the data is just not there. And the other thing to keep in mind is this: fascia that people talk about, that surrounds muscles and interdigitates and permeates throughout muscle, has a tensile strength significantly stronger than steel per diameter, per thickness. In fact, so that's why you're not really changing fascia. People say, oh, we're going to do fascia work with foam rollers or medicine balls, lacrosse balls. You're not affecting fascia. You're not changing tissue quality. The tissue is far too strong.
So right now my legs are sore. So should I use the foam roller? What should I do?
It depends on what you're going to do afterwards. Like I tell you, I use a foam roller because it feels nice. It's a pleasant feeling sometimes. But I don't do it before activity. If I'm not going to work out today, I might take a day to just do that because it feels nice. I'll go for a massage, not because I expect a massage therapist to fix anything.
Not a
and
deep tissue
I don't do
massage.
deep tissue massage because it's painful and it's frankly kind of silly because it's bruising, and that's why
I got you.
you get a deep tissue massage and then you feel like crap afterwards.
100%. Like a car hit me.
Yeah, so what's the point?
Yeah.
But you go maybe for a nice, Swedish massage, a florage or whatever, something that's a relaxation massage. Sure, that feels nice. And I think that's the kind of thing that I'd recommend. And there's recuperative benefits there because you're relaxing, and that's important. But again, do I think you're changing tissue quality? No. And I think anybody who says that is going against the research and the data. And I know it's going to make a lot of massage therapists angry and frustrated, but again, I just want to see the data because what I've seen right now doesn't support their contentions. So again, that said, I haven't looked at it in the last few months, so if something's come out and lasted a while, maybe, but I'm pretty confident in that position. I've done cadaver studies, I've seen the fascia. It's not, it doesn't move. It doesn't move.
Professional here.
Oh,
He knows his stuff.
We try. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments section below. We'd love to hear back from you. Disagree with me, agree with me, whatever. Make fun of my hair. That's fine. I'm good with all of that. Okay, all the best. Thank you.